Cal, India, Echo, Lima, Delta, Shield.
This is TW Wrestling Talk here. Coming off Valentine's Day week here. Heading into the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view this Sunday. It's February 17th. And we got, it's about 4 matches here for this pay-per-view of some degree of importance. Among them are the World Heavyweight Championship match, Big Show against Alberto Del Rio once again. We have, obviously, the WWE Championship rematch between The Rock and CM Punk. The stipulation, the special stipulation that if anyone interferes on The Rock's behalf, he will lose the championship. And we also have the Shield. Just playing their theme song there, their great theme song. Taking on the team of Sheamus, John Cena, and Ryback, and then of course we have the singles elimination chamber match. This to determine the number 1 contender to face the World Heavyweight Champion at WrestleMania. So it's a decent, I guess a decent array of matches there. Personally, I'm getting a little tired of. I wasn't in favor of Del Rio becoming World Heavyweight Champion in the first place. But Big Show is the only, really the good aspect of that feud. Only, you gotta love when he comes out on this past week on Monday Night Raw. As Matt Stryker begins to ask him a question, he just out of nowhere just throws a knockout punch. It's just little things like that about Big Show that, makes him, puts him on his own level, on SmackDown. So, I've continued to, hope that he'd win just because I don't care for Del Rio's champion at all. And I know there's a lot of people out there that don't care for him as champion. And I know it was kind of just a, I guess I'm hoping that they're setting up a Dolph Ziggler cash in soon. Even though I'm not totally feeling that even. Just the way the past few months have been for him, they haven't been that great. I really think he should be more on his own. That he'd succeed more that way, and he'd also get over more that way. But I'd rather have him cash in this Sunday than have Del Rio continue to tarnish the World Heavyweight Championship. For a little, it was more up to par. With Sheamus as champion, Big Show as champion, it was a little better. But now Del Rio to me, who hasn't even gotten over much as even on a mid card level. So he's kind of degraded the championship to me. And I know there's many that would agree with it, and I've already gone through enough on why and how he's degraded the championship. So I don't want to see him be in one of the big matches at WrestleMania. I'd rather see Dolph Ziggler against somebody else, maybe Randy Orton, maybe Chris Jericho, depending how this Elimination Chamber match goes. It'll be interesting to see. And speaking of that Elimination Chamber match, obviously one of the featured matches of the pay-per-view, it should be pretty good. And the good thing about it is WWE can go several directions with it. You have Randy Orton. He could very well walk out victorious in this match. Chris Jericho also could, especially if they want to have Ziggler cash in and be champion at WrestleMania. That could very well happen if Chris Jericho wins. Mark Henry, I think will go in and do some destruction, but ultimately I don't think They're going to have him back in the World Heavyweight Championship picture for WrestleMania. Um, you have Kane and Daniel Bryan, um, although they'll probably beat up on each other. I think at some point it'll kind of continue to be their their fallout that we all expect to do eventually come. Um, and then you have Jack Swagger, wild card, kind of a wild card guy here. They kind of repackaged him, and I've been behind him a little bit, but I gotta admit, um, that segment, like he's not very good on the mic. He's not a great talker at all. Um, it was a little like nails on a chalkboard kind of feeling this past Monday on Raw when he had this new kind of redneck uh, manager with him. Um, kind of and then Swagger would like repeat important phrases he would say, and it's just like nails on a chalkboard when he would speak. So hopefully they can rectify that maybe to for him to get over more in the future. But at least he's not a jobber anymore like he was before he went away for a little. So I guess it makes him worthy of being in the chamber match, and he's been a little more brutal in the ring, so that's not a bad thing. Um, so yeah, you got him. I think the favorites here, though, would have to be between Jericho and Randy Orton. So it should be an interesting match, and we'll just have to wait and see what goes down in it. But there's no one here that to me is like a lackluster superstar. Um, you know, they've all they've all been former world or WWE champions or both. So at one level, although Swagger's reigns as champion to me weren't very legitimate, they were kind of forced, and WWE just giving it a shot on a guy that didn't totally get over. But at least he's not a jobber like he was, like I said. So that should make it a little better. They have some a nice assortment of veterans in here, so should be a good, hopefully, decent match. Um, then of course we have the other Elimination Chamber match, which will be the first tag team Elimination Chamber match. Um, which was bound to happen eventually, as it's been an option in WWE's games for quite some time, but it never quite happened. Um, it should be interesting. This last week on Monday Night Raw was, it was interesting because finally, the Shield, it seems like, Sheamus, Ryback, and Cena kind of had the upper hand on them, you know, which makes it, maybe a possible Shield upset. I would love to see the Shield win this match, but, they kind of, took a page out of the Shield's playbook this week, with the lights going off and everything. And speaking of that, by the way, I forgot to mention last week, um, for those who watch the Super Bowl, I'm a big football guy, um, so I thoroughly enjoy the football game aspect of the Super Bowl. It was a great game. But of course, very early in the third quarter, of course, they had that power surge, where it seemed like over half the lights went off in the stadium. And when it first happened, they showed this camera angle. I don't know if anyone else was thinking this, um, but the lights first went off, and they showed this camera angle, and it appeared, from that camera angle, it looked like all the lights were off in the arena. And when that happened, my first thought was, here comes the Shield. I mean, this was incredible. I mean, the camera angle made it look like all the lights were off, but then they showed other angles, and you could see that, the stadium was partially still lit, like one half, a little less than half of, the lights, and it took them over a half hour to get the game going, and it was at first it was funny because it made me think of the Shield immediately. Um, just how the lights went off, and I thought it was I thought after a minute I was thinking, well, it'd be funny if the lights came back on, and suddenly you see you know Joe Flacco and Ray Lewis from the Baltimore Ravens kind of laying laying on the ground in pain from victims of the Shield. But you know, eventually they got. After a minute, I'm just thinking, get the game back going here. I mean, but eventually, after a long time, they finally got the game back going, and I think it helped make it an interesting Super Bowl with the 49ers coming back and almost winning it. But I picked the Ravens to win it, and surely enough, they pulled through and finished strong there. So that was quite a Super Bowl, and it was quite an for wrestling fans who tuned into the Super Bowl. It was quite a funny thing with that power surge. Made me think of the Shield, and I don't. Maybe it made you think of it too. I don't know, but that was some. That was. Anyways, back to the WWE. Um, I mean, this was yeah, it was. It should be a good match. I'm hoping. I mean, you know, I'm not totally in favor of this team of Sheamus and John Cena and Ryback. Personally, I'd rather see Ryback more gunning towards John Cena, just for the sake, because he eliminated Ryback at the Royal Rumble. If I were Ryback, this is real life scenario. I'd be like, I want to challenge John Cena. I'd want to, I'd be angry that John Cena eliminated him, and he wouldn't. It's not like he'd have to turn heel for that. It's just like as a competitor, a strong competitor. I would be, no, you know what? He eliminated the Royal Rumble. I want to get back at him, and beat him, and now they're uniting together with Sheamus, and I'm just not behind it. Um, it's one of those things they want to get, you know, probably the three biggest faces um, of baby faces together to take on the Shield, and I'm not feeling it. I mean, as big of a year as I'd like to see Ryback have, um, you know, anytime you have John Cena in there in the mix on the team, it's just I'm thinking, oh well, maybe I'd rather see the other guys win. This in this case being the Shield, um, and certainly the Shield could you know deserve this win. I mean, it would really establish them as solid competitors, and I think WWE might be missing an opportunity if they make them lose here. Um, you know, certainly they could make it an interesting match and not make it look too bad of a loss if they do lose. But I would love to see the Shield win this match. What that's probably more unlikely to happen, but it'll be interesting to see whether or not it does happen. It would be great if I would love it personally. I'm behind the Shield. They had a decent showing, I guess. They weren't great on the mic, but they got the job done um, Monday on Raw. So I'd be all for them winning at the Elimination Chamber this Sunday. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But I think them winning too. They got the chemistry there. The team. They're a team. They're a unit. Whereas Sheamus, Ryback, and John Cena, they're big singles wrestlers, but they're not they don't have the team chemistry, and I think that would be a good kind of an excuse for the Shield to win this if they do, um, and it would help establish the Shield further. So I'm all for that. And lastly, of course, you got the rematch with The Rock and CM Punk. Um, I just to make it interesting, I would not mind seeing CM Punk win, and get a win, get the championship back. at this pay-per-view. Because what's going to happen is if The Rock retains, and they don't, CM Punk basically loses his opportunity here to get the title back. And essentially, we're going to see a predictable, more or less, championship match, main event between Cena and The Rock at WrestleMania, and I am really hoping that doesn't happen. So, I guess we'll have to wait and see what they do. But this, maybe if CM Punk does win, and of course they made this stipulation that if somebody interferes on The Rock's behalf, that The Rock would lose the championship. And this would definitely make it interesting at WrestleMania, because this would pretty much inevitably make it a triple threat match at WrestleMania, I would think. You would have The Rock probably with a rematch clause, who, of course, he wouldn't win at WrestleMania, given that he's going to go to Hollywood then after that. But then you would have CM Punk, and then, of course, Cena. That would make it a triple threat match, so at least that would make the match at WrestleMania a little more unpredictable. At least there'd be an element of whether or not Cena or CM Punk walks out champion of that match. And then, of course, extra star power in The Rock being there, even though you would know that he wouldn't walk out champion from there. So the bottom line is, you get a triple threat match going there at WrestleMania, and that's a better option than a predictable one-on-one Cena versus Rock rematch, twice in a lifetime, as some people are dubbing it. So that's what I think. And with the whole stipulation, we saw a little stipulation twist at the Royal Rumble. What happened there with the Shield? What if Brad Maddox, comes out and attacks CM Punk, kind of get revenge on, what happened on the events that, transpired last month. What if they do that? Paul Heyman was about to get fired. We saw that footage. What if they do something like that? See, Maddox tries to get like revenge or something, and then it ends up kind of helping them out anyways. What if what if Paul Heyman like renegotiated with Maddox in that way and did something like that? So, it'll be really interesting to see what happens. There's several different instances here at this pay-per-view of, interesting things that could happen. This possible cash in. I would hope Dolph Ziggler has nothing else to do at the pay-per-view, it appears. So, you see that, and you see this here with this stipulation, Brad Maddox could possibly interfere or whatever. So it'll be interesting, certainly, to see what happens with this pay-per-view. So I'm hoping WWE strikes gold here. Even though it's not necessarily supposed to be one of the big pay-per-views of the year, it could be very interesting nevertheless. So we'll have to look, see what happens, and we'll discuss it right here on TW Wrestling Talk, in the following day or so after the Elimination Chamber. So stay tuned for that, and thank you for tuning in to this edition of TW Wrestling Talk.